The rusty swing set creaked like a mournful cry in the still evening air. Empty, always empty. The park felt cold, even in summer. A shiver ran down Billy's spine as he glanced at the jungle gym. Its twisted metal bars looked like grasping claws in the fading light. He shouldn't be here. Everyone in town knew to avoid the old playground after dark. Stories whispered from generation to generation, tales of children vanishing, their laughter replaced by unseen whispers. Billy kicked at a loose stone, trying to shake off the feeling of unease. His little sister, Sally, clutched his hand tighter, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and fascination. She had heard the stories too, but curiosity, like tendrils of ivy, had a way of creeping in. "Do you think it's true, Billy?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Billy tried to sound brave. "Of course not, silly, it's just stories." But his voice lacked conviction. He couldn't ignore the coldness that seemed to cling to this place, a coldness that sunk into your bones and lingered long after you left. A sudden gust of wind rustled the leaves of the ancient oak tree at the edge of the playground. The shadows from its branches seemed to writhe and stretch, taking on menacing forms. Billy felt a prickle of fear. He needed to get Sally out of there, now. The Carter family had moved to Hollow Creek only a month ago, escaping the noise and chaos of the city, seeking a fresh start. But some things, it seemed, could not be outrun. The darkness followed, whispering on the wind. Their old Victorian house stood at the edge of town. Its gabled windows watched the street like watchful eyes. Billy had overheard the whispers in town, about their house, about the family who lived there before, the family that vanished without a trace. His parents dismissed it as superstitious nonsense, but Billy felt it, a heaviness in the air, a presence that lingered in the shadows. He felt it most strongly in the attic, a musty, unused space filled with forgotten relics. One evening, while exploring the attic, he stumbled upon a dusty old journal. Its leather cover was cracked and faded. He opened it, his heart pounding with a mixture of apprehension and curiosity. The pages were filled with spidery handwriting, a diary. He began to read, his eyes scanning the faded ink. The diary belonged to a young girl who had lived in the house a century ago. Her words painted a picture of a happy family, until the darkness came. The diary spoke of strange occurrences, objects moving on their own, disembodied whispers in the dead of night. The young girl wrote of a growing sense of dread, a feeling that something evil had taken root in their home. Billy read on, captivated and terrified. He felt a chill run down his spine as he recognized the descriptions of the playground. The same playground he and Sally had visited just hours earlier. The same playground that had been abandoned for a century. He slammed the diary shut, his heart pounding in his chest. The shadows in the attic seemed to deepen. He could have sworn he heard a whisper, faint and chilling. "Get out," it seemed to say. He fled from the attic, the diary clutched tightly in his hand. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had stumbled upon something sinister, something that threatened to consume him and his family. He knew he had to uncover the truth. But what if some secrets are better left buried? That night, as he lay in bed, he heard it again. The whisper. This time it was closer, right outside his door. He pulled the covers over his head, fear a lead weight in his stomach. The next morning, Billy convinced Sally to return to the attic with him. They moved cautiously, their eyes scanning the dusty furniture and cobwebbed corners. Sally pointed to a large, antique mirror tucked away in a dark corner. "What's that?" she whispered, her eyes wide with curiosity. The mirror was ornately framed, its silver tarnished with age. But what chilled Billy to the bone was its reflection, or rather what it didn't reflect. He could see Sally, the dust motes dancing in the weak sunlight that streamed through the grimy window, but he couldn't see himself. He reached out a trembling hand, touching the cold glass. As soon as his fingers made contact, the mirror rippled, like a stone thrown into still water. The reflection changed. He saw a shadowy figure standing behind him. Its eyes, glowing red, stared back at him with malevolent intensity. Billy stumbled backward, knocking Sally to the ground. He blinked, and the shadowy figure was gone. He looked at Sally, his heart pounding. "Did you see that?" Sally shook her head, her eyes wide with fear. "See what?" Billy wasn't sure if he imagined it or not, but he knew one thing. The house was not what it seemed, and neither was the evil that lurked within its walls.